Hi, I'm Nikki, and today I'm practicing the skill of non-judgment and effectiveness. So I'm going to start out with a non-judgmental description of an event that happened today. So the instructions in my DBT book are to write out a non-judgmental blow-by-blow account of a particular important episode in your day. Describe both what happened in your environment and what your thoughts, feelings, and actions were. Leave out any analysis of why something happened or why you thought, felt, or acted as you did. Stick to the facts that you observed. So non-judgmentalness is to see but don't evaluate as good or bad. Just the facts. Accept each moment like a blanket spread out on the lawn, accepting both the rain and the sun and each leaf that falls upon it. Acknowledge the difference between the helpful and the harmful, the safe and the dangerous, but don't judge them. Acknowledge your values, your wishes, your emotional reactions, but don't judge them. And most importantly, when inevitably you find yourself judging, try not to judge yourself for judging. So this morning, I was woken up by a phone call from a friend that I was supposed to meet for coffee, and realized upon waking up that I had slept through my husband leaving for work, my alarm, and some text messages. I had scheduled a group for this morning that was supposed to start at 8:30 a.m. and there were a few people that showed up and I slept right through it. Once I realized this, I messaged these individuals to let them know that I was very sorry for sleeping in. I tried very hard to not focus on shame. Shame is something that can come up for me, especially when something like this happens that goes against my values. I personally value showing up, engaging in my commitments, not letting people down. And so having scheduled a group and then not being in attendance for that group was a huge thing for me. Shame in the past probably would have been all-consuming. But this morning, I recognized that wasn't effective. I checked my facts, and shame is an emotion that is rarely ever justified. Guilt is something that may be justified in this situation. I went against my values, and I wasn't present for my commitment. So, I acknowledged those. And then I took steps to make amends. As I said, I sent a message apologizing, and then I took steps to correct it. So previously I had my Google Assistant have an alarm in the living room because I'm normally up by the time group starts, so 10 minutes before an alarm goes off to remind me that group's about to start so that I have time to prepare. Today I slept through that. So to avoid that happening in the future, I canceled the alarms from my Google Assistant and I put everything directly into my phone. So all of my groups now on my phone will have an alarm go off 10 minutes beforehand. This way I can't just be half asleep and either yell out stop and then my Google alarm stops without me even waking up, or it could just keep running without me noticing. This one, it keeps going off and requires me to actually pick up my phone and turn it off. So hopefully that isn't going to happen again. It's really easy in situations like this to get caught up in the what should have happened, in the good and the bad, in the I'm so awful that I allowed this to happen, and I should not have allowed this to happen. And getting stuck in that can prevent us from moving forward, can prevent us from acting effectively. So by acknowledging that and not allowing myself to go into those emotions, to practice non-judgmentalness and effectiveness in the situation, I was able to handle it really well and move forward. So some of the recommended steps in my DBT binder around letting go of judgments include: first, practice noticing the judgments. So keep account of judgments. I noticed that I had judgmental thoughts, that I was a failure, that that was not acceptable behavior, that I'm going to lose clients if I'm not able to get myself to arrive on time. So the second thing is to ask yourself, do I want to be judging? Is the judging helping or hurting me? So in this case, an initial judgment that this is not an acceptable professional behavior is effective. It causes me to want to change my behavior. But continuing on with the judgment to the point of shame is not effective. It's going to prevent me from action and possibly affect my mood and my productivity and how I see myself and engage with the world that day. So it's not effective to continue with the judgment after noticing the initial judgment. Third is replace judgments with either statements of preference, I like, I prefer, or I wish, or statements of consequence. This is helpful / harmful for, this is effective / ineffective for, and statements of fact. This thing happened in this way at this time. So in my situation, rather than saying, I'm bad for sleeping in, I've messed up, I can change that to, it is not effective for me to have slept in. It is not effective that I didn't show up for my group today. This is not how to effectively run groups. I can't just not show up. Fourth is practicing accepting what is. So that is facts, preferences, consequences, and letting go of the judgments. Let the judgments drift away. So accepting that I missed my group. Full stop. I don't need to go into why I missed my group, how I missed my group, what that means about me because I missed my group. What are people going to think about me for missing my group? Those wouldn't have been effective thoughts to have. But reminding myself that I missed my group today. That acknowledgement allows me to then move on to another skill involving problem solving and figuring out how do I prevent this from happening again. And then last is remember not to judge your judging. Judgments are going to come up. That's part of how we've been for a really long time. It makes sense that we're going to have judgments, and then continuing to add on to those judgments with further judgments about not being able to not be judgmental just adds to that ineffectiveness. So when judgments come up, when we're not effective, we accept that and then we do the next most effective thing. So after practicing a skill like this, we can ask ourselves, did practicing this mindfulness skill improve any of the following even a little bit? So reduce suffering. Yes. By not continuing to engage in negative self-talk and shame, that definitely reduced my suffering. Decreased reactivity. Yeah, definitely. The more you stop yourself from going down a path, the easier it becomes the next time to not have that reaction. The more times you travel down a path, the easier it becomes to find that path. Increased connection. So yeah, by reaching out to the people that were showing up to my group and letting them know that, hey, sorry guys, I messed up, not going to happen again. And acknowledge that I'm a human who sometimes makes mistakes, and that's okay. We're all humans, and we're going to make mistakes, and we do the next most effective thing to try to do better and not make those mistakes again. So increased happiness. Yeah, definitely, because I'm relatively happy right now, and in the past I would have probably had a pretty bad shame spiral and gone into sadness and fear, and definitely further away from happiness. So increased wisdom. Yeah, I think anytime that we choose to respond in a way that's more effective, that's adding to our wisdom and helping us to better understand ourselves and our situations. Increased experiencing the present. Yeah, definitely. Had I allowed myself to go into that shame spiral, then it wouldn't have been just about sleeping in and being late. It then also would have been about every other time that I didn't do a thing that I needed to do, that I didn't meet my own expectations or others, and it would have just continued to compound, taking me out of the present and into the past and into mind reading and into future prediction about other people's judgments and feelings towards me, and whether or not I have the capabilities to continue with this in the future. So definitely using effectiveness and non-judgmentalness definitely helped to keep me more grounded in the present. So then the last thing is, what is your experience now after using this skill? I had a pretty productive day. I was able to move forward from something that in the past probably would have been a devastating blow. And I'm able to share this and learn from it, and hopefully someone who's watching this will be able to relate and learn from this too. So that's today. That's effectiveness and non-judgmental stance as part of our mindfulness skills. Thanks for joining me today with practicing skills and working on being mindfully well. If you like this video, please feel free to like or subscribe and see more content as it comes up.